Am I on? Hello? He says I am. It works. Okay. All right. Everybody got their jelly beans. Okay. So I'll come back to that later. Why you got those? All right. So tonight, first I'm going to start off by telling a little story about school. Okay. So today my message is mostly just about time. It's all about time. So first I'm going to tell them a story that's happened at school. So at school, I'm a teacher. I teach third grade. Didn't know. And I love it, every minute of it. But one thing that the kids hate, completely hate, is writing. They hate writing, especially a third grader that they just now learned how to read pretty much, and now they're expected to write big paragraphs, right? And but that's one of my standards. I have to teach them how to be able to write like a big paragraph, and with TCAPs, they get timed. Okay, it's all a timed thing. They only get 30 minutes, and they have to give their best in that 30 minutes, and it's all they got. They don't got any more. They don't got any. They got 30 minutes to do introduction, 3 reasons, text evidence, conclusion, the big shebang, trying to give them all that they could. So in class, I'll time them and I'll encourage them before we do it. Like, okay, we've got this. Come on, don't forget transition words and use all the similes and try to make it as good as you can and try to use your correct punctuation and all this different stuff. So I'm giving them a big speech every 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, on your mark, get set, go. And I'll set the timer and then 30 minutes begin. So I'll go walk back to my desk like, okay, good. Maybe I can do some grading or something. Within 5 minutes, Miss Norton, I'm done. Miss Norton, I'm done. And I'm like, and then I get back up, go back over there. I'm like, okay, so what do you mean you're done? Like, oh yeah, all the way done, perfect, I'm good. I'm like, okay, so you have your introduction, you have 3 reasons. Have you even read the story? I mean, that whole story is going to take me 5 minutes to read. Like, you've text evidence, conclusion, you have everything. Yep, I'm good, I'm done, I'm good. Okay, are you sure? Like, do you want to, how about add another reason, add another text evidence, add something else? And then they're like, oh, okay. 1 minute later, I'm done. I've added another sentence, I'm done. Okay, all right. I mean, I can only encourage them so much. And then by the end, they're like, okay, what do I do now? Just sit there quietly. Because guess what? Everybody else still has 25 minutes that they still have time and that they can still work. So we've been practicing this every day. And that's kind of how we can be as Christians. There's 2 types of writers in my classroom. The ones that are like, within 5 minutes, I'm done. Even though you have 25 minutes left, they ain't using it. They're going to rush, do as much as they possibly can, throw it on there, don't care what it looks like, and say, I'm done. And then I have also some other writers in my room. They work their butt off. They work the whole entire time. They're like to the last second. And when I'm saying 5 minutes left, and they're still trying to go, and they're going, and they're writing as fast as they can. They're giving it their all. And even at the end, they're like, oh, just one more second, and just trying to put everything possible on the paper. And that's how we can be as Christians. We give up early and say, I'm done, even though you have plenty of time left, or you're going to the end, and you're trying to give it everything you got. So that's what my message is on today, and how time is so precious on this earth, and we need to spend every minute that we have on this earth, spend it for Him, and not give up and say, I'm done. So we don't know our time, but why give up early and say, I'm done? We have time to make changes for God's kingdom. We have more time to reach more people, show them how wonderful and powerful God is. Don't stop and say, well, I've led this many people to God already, so I'm good, I'm done. I've done this my whole life, I'm good, I'm done. We don't need to do that. Never say, I'm done. We all need to keep working in God's kingdom and never stop writing and working towards bettering His kingdom. Because we're never done until He says we're done. That's right. And our time is done. That's right. Officially. So as for myself, I don't want to never give up. And I don't want to settle for being the lukewarm Christian, because that's what happens a lot of times. You work, and then you're like, okay, I'm done. And then you become the lukewarm Christian. So that's why you just got to keep working and never stopping for his kingdom. So if you guys want to turn, I will be in Ephesians 5. Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5. And I'm going to start at verse 8. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 8. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 8. I got to repeat myself over and over. I can't help it. I'm sorry. If not in school, they'll be like, what page? After I said it 5 times anyways. They'd be like, okay, what page? Okay. All right, so verse 8. So for you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness, righteousness, and truth, finding out what is acceptable to the Lord. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them. For it is shameful even to speak of those things which are done by them in secret. But all the things that we are exposed are made manifest by the light. For whatever makes manifest is light. Therefore he says, awake, you who sleep, arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light. So I feel like he has woken us up. We are alive. In Christ, he has given us that light. But this verse 15, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. So I'm going to read verse 15 again. So yes, awake you who sleep, arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light. We've all arose, I feel like, in here. And he has awoken us, and Christ has given us that light. But see then that you walk circumspectly. And I had to look that up, and it meant that you're working. Circumspectly. That you are cautious of what's to come. Cautious. So then that you walk not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Redeeming the time. So he has given us this time. Once he has awakened us and he has come into our life, then we need to redeem that time. We don't need to waste it and be fools. We need to use it wisely. Are we using our time wisely, or are we being fools with the time he's given us? So he's given us this time. Are we using it wisely, or are we being fools with the time that he's given us? Could I be doing something else with my time that I could glorify him more? Does what I'm doing have an internal impact? I believe every generation has its own set of temptations, but it seems very easy to waste time. You know, it's very easy to waste time, especially in these days and age with the internet. I'm talking to myself here. It is so easy to waste time that we could be given some of it to God. Because we have this internet at our fingertips all day long. I'm not saying the internet is bad or anything, but whatever wastes your time in that magnitude is sometimes harmful to us in getting closer to God. But we should be setting some boundaries and planning our days in a way that glorifies God. I'm really saying this for myself as a reminder to step back and try to stay balanced in giving God also time and not leaving him out. So it's my prayer that I would examine my time and make sure that I'm spending it wisely and not foolishly. Because he gave us this time. Don't be foolish. Use it for him and use it wisely. And understand what the will of the Lord is for me. So, first things that we could do to maybe help ourselves not use our time so foolishly is see each day as a gift from God instead of seeing each day as a burden. And when I was researching to do this and I saw this online, that really hit me. See each day as a gift from God instead of seeing each day as a burden. And I'm like, every Monday I go to school and I'm like, oh, wish it was 3 o'clock. We all teachers say that all the time. Oh, wish it was 3 o'clock already. You know, you're exhausted already. It's Monday. And you're like, oh, wish it was 3 o'clock. And if you guys have busy days, you're like, oh my goodness, I've got this to do today, and I got this to do today, and I got this, and I'm like, oh, so overwhelmed, and I've got so much to do. And that is just such a horrible way to look at life itself. See each day as a gift from God. That day, every day that he's given us is such a gift instead of seeing each day as a burden. And to stop telling myself, or you guys being able to tell yourself of all, oh, I got to do this and this and this. Oh, I got to do this and this. Oh, I got to grade these papers. And I mean, we need to take it as a gift. See it as another opportunity God has given us to serve him. It's another day that we're able to do something for God. That's why that song, Goodness of God, I love so much, because the goodness of God, he is so, so good. That part, I'm just like, he is so, so good. And we don't thank him enough. We don't give him enough of our time that we should. Well, I'm talking about myself. We need to give him more, because he is amazing. Okay, so first thing, make sure every day you know that our time that he's given us this day is a gift. Second thing is we need to set time aside for God. No Christian would say, oh, I'm too busy for God. You're not going to say that. But how often have you gone through a whole entire day without even thinking about him, and let alone, sometimes not even thinking about him, but let alone praying or reading your Bible, actually setting aside time for God to pray or read your Bible. So that's the second thing. So first thing, we need to be just thanking him for giving us this day and this time. And second thing, we need to make sure we've chosen a time for him every day, giving him something, because we are not too busy for God. We sometimes feel all stressed about this day is a burden. No, it's not. It's a gift that he's given you, and we need to set aside time for him. So one of the things that his wife, Larry Gray's wife, was saying about having a closet or talking in your car, and that's a good way, is setting aside that time, but not just randomly. Actually set aside a time like, hey, this is my time, and give it to God. So how often have you ignored someone who needed your encouragement or help? We neglect God to our spare time, but never end up having spare time. So we're like, oh, if we have spare time later, I'll do that. Or, oh, if I do this later, I'll do that. And then we never end up having that spare time to give to him. So we need to stop saying spare time for God, but setting aside time for God. Even myself on the internet, if I go to bed, I got my phone, I'll start scrolling, and I'll look at the time like, man, I'm getting tired. It'll be like at least an hour and a half or 2 hours that I've been scrolling on my phone, and I could have easily gave 30 minutes of that to God, or an hour of that to God, versus just sitting there scrolling, because I wasn't tired enough to scroll, so I should have set that time up for him. Third thing is you do need to take time for your own needs. We all need rest and recreation. God made us this way. Some people feel guilty for taking a vacation. I know Pastor always feels bad for going on a vacation, but in the midst of an incredibly busy schedule, which we do have, Jesus told his disciples, come with me by yourself to a quiet place and get some rest. And that was in Mark. If Jesus required time of rest, so should we. And I loved this. Someone who is chronically exhausted from lack of sleep and always busy and stressed is more susceptible to Satan's attacks. So if we are exhausted, if we are irritated because we don't have sleep, if we are already stressed out and we already feel on the edge, then if devil attacks us, we're going to be easy targets. So we do need that rest and be able to be in our best to be able to handle any attack that comes towards us. So show my video real quick. Pull it up. So this is an awesome video. I had one of my teachers show it to me when I was in college, and it moves me so much every time I watch it. And that's why you have the jelly beans. So this is what the video. It's about your time that we have left in jelly beans. So he's represented time that we have spent doing other things. Oh, y'all can't see it. Just kidding. Hey, John, can you turn on the sound to this? Yes. Okay.
These are roughly 28,835 jelly beans. I counted out 500 of them and used those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's one jelly bean for each day that the average American will live. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here's a single bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but kind of a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you have the first year of your life. Now, for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years, 5,475 days, which brings us to the threshold of adulthood. And at that moment, this is the time that we have left. And this is, on average, what we will do with all that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities, like chores and tending to our pets and shopping, will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities, and another 720 days will go to community activities, like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
Okay. What if we only had that one jelly bean left? We only had that one day left. What are we going to do? And I thought it was so crazy how many days. You don't think about that using up time. Going to the bathroom, shopping, cooking, all those different things. And then what time we actually have left is not as much compared to what we think, especially sleeping. That was like 8,000 something days over your life you sleep, which we got to have sleep to fight anybody coming at us. But it takes up a lot of time we needed, but it makes you think we have a lot less time than we think we do, especially We don't know when our time is. So each day, we need to see it as a gift and not a burden. We need to use our time wisely. Set time aside for God, and then give yourself time to rest, to be rested up to fight the devil. So, this is another little message part. So, have you, on a tombstone, you have the day that you was born, and then the day that you pass away on a tombstone. What's in between the dates, the little dash? That little tiny line is all the time that we have. It's like our time, like one jelly bean left. That one little dash, it represents our whole entire life here on earth. We may think it's tons when we're here, but really it's just that one little tiny line. And that little tiny line represents our whole life here on earth. And some of our dashes are a little bit longer than others. Some people have really short dashes. You don't know how much your time is, and you don't know how much your dash is. That is a little thing different from school. My kids know they have 30 minutes to work. They know, hey, they got 30 minutes to work. They can work only 5 minutes and have 25 minutes left that they wasted, but they knew that they had 30 minutes to be able to work. They knew their time and that they wasted a lot of it. Some of them worked to the very end, but we don't know our time. So we don't know much time we have left for us to work for God. There is this poem. It's called The Dash. I love this poem. It is amazing. And it is called The Dash poem. So I'm going to read it for you. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was that dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent alive on earth. And now only those who loved them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things that you'd like to change? You never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved them before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? How you spent your life? So are you a person that says, I'm done. I know I've done a little bit. I'm done. I'm good. Or are you a person that's still trying to work hard for God and trying to help others? Are you trying to reach out? Are you using all your time and setting aside time for God? We only have that little line, that dash, to make a difference. We only have so much time in our little dash. And like my kids at school they know how much time. We do not know how much time. So keep pushing forward and don't say, I'm done yet. Don't say you're done yet. Keep working for God's kingdom till the very end. If you only have one jelly bean, one day left, how are you going to spend that time? And how are you going to spend the rest of your dash? Okay. Thank you, guys.